there's this idea of knowledge resistance. Some people call it fact resistance. The trend is sort of towards knowledge resistance. That it comes back to that, like we've moralized things, and our brain is really good at rationalizing it away. So the facts that sort of would counter that, they're from bad sources, they're made up. It's one of the hardest part about conspiracies, once you fall into a conspiracy, is a you know anything that discredits the conspiracy is proof of the conspiracy, right? That just tells you how good the conspiracy is, that they can, right? So you can't win
Right.
in that environment, right? Because everything
No.
just proves the conspiracy more. And that's
Yeah.
where we're at with a lot of this, a lot of this stuff about Trump. And you see these kind of comments, right? That's just the left making stuff up again, or all this kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So it's really easy to discount because they're so attached to it. And that people on the left do the same thing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff about the news media and academia that is probably realistic complaints that probably need to be looked at, and those often get discounted as it's just a right-wing conspiracy or something, right? So they're
Sure.
not the right doesn't have a have a monopoly on this stuff, right? It happens on both sides. I mean, right now I think we're in a cycle where some of these more radicalized ideas have worked their way into the mainstream and the right.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And
I think we're seeing stuff on the left as well that is very conspiratorial. Especially, I think I've seen a lot of things on social media from people I know about like the conflict in the Middle East, etc. On the left, that you see like, oh, but that isn't true. You got a
right.
lot of these a lot of these filter bubbles, and people that are, again, morally outraged for something that they really believe in. And but through that, you have a lot of people that potentially in the US, because of those beliefs of, let's say that Joe Biden is a warmonger or whatever, that they will end up not voting, or voting for someone like Jill Stein or RFK if they're still on the ballot. And that could consequentially lead to a second Trump presidency. And I think you and I would probably agree that the consequences of second Trump presidency will likely be exactly as worse, if not more so than we anticipate. But the fact that that would be brought upon because some people think that they're trying to do good things to stand up for those suffering in other countries, that's even the saddest part of it. Like the whole thing of like the way to hell is paved with good intentions, is and they're outraged. And I think, yeah, this speaks to how like outrage is driving decisions everywhere, and there's not a lot of vision for the future that I think America used to have in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Like it was about imagination and doing amazing things and building amazing things and creating amazing things. I look at America during that time, and I think that, and I hope that after this election, you guys can get back to some of that stuff, and the rest of us can follow along. I don't know. What do you think about um, yeah, the era of post outrage?
Yeah, well, I hope we can get it to a post outrage era. But yeah, I think you hit on a couple things there, and one of them I think is kind of an education thing. I think we could definitely learn something from history about other countries that have gone through this, and how it ended up. And and I think that we often, we can barely remember what 2020 was like, but we need to understand a
Yeah.
little bit better, some of these past there's a whole movement to destroy the state, like they actually believe there's a whole anarchist movement out there that's getting traction. Things like destroying the institutions has been like, now you see Republicans saying things like, well, democracy is not good, or they always have that weird thing about we don't live in a democracy, but it's a republic. It's like, yeah, that's distinction without a difference, buddy. but
Right.
um, but but another piece about that is, like, we're in this mode now. We were talking about trying to get things done. We're in this mode now where, like, they don't even, a lot of times people don't care about getting things done. They actually care more about making the other side either mad or afraid or scared or winning. It's this idea of winning. I mean, I think when Trump was often using this idea of winning, we didn't understand what it meant. We thought it meant like legislatively winning and getting things done. Oh no, it meant just making other people mad and making your enemies hurting your enemies in some way. And people actually
Right.
want that. Like they'll sacrifice their own best interests and their own community for that, right? And that's how bad things are. We want that retribution so badly now that we'll sacrifice when things there could be we'll give up something that would help us just to get that feeling of watching the other side suffer. And that's a pretty
Right.
scary situation. And I think another aspect of the education, you talk about like getting things done, it's understanding that, America and democracy in general, but America's democracy with our federated system and our branches of government, it's a messy system. Like it doesn't work. It only works when people, and it was designed to work, that people that didn't like each other and didn't agree on very much could get in a room and sort of hash things out. That's how we got a constitution. People that didn't like each other got in a room and hashed it out. And that's broken
Right.
now. Like we don't champion that. We don't endorse it. When somebody on our side says they'll work with the other side, we start complaining about that. Like, oh, you shouldn't compromise. It's like, dude, it's the only way anything happens in this country. It's all about
Right.
compromise, and you have to build
Totally agree.
coalitions. And that whole idea of building coalitions has kind of gone away. And I am seeing some stuff with the Harris campaign where you're seeing some, beginnings of signaling of that, if she were to win, I mean, I don't know if she's going to win. Probably not. Who knows? It's very close. But if she were to win, she talks about putting a Republican in her cabinet and things like that. So, I mean,
Right.
I think we have to get better at championing that instead of criticizing it when folks are, when our, when the political elites, are open to the idea of working together. We have to champion that instead of, complaining about it.